Today's video is going to be all about one of my greatest loves, and that is Zelda! Today I'm going to be talking about Zelda, my collection, what I feel about the game, some of my favorite games, just whatever comes to mind about what I want to talk about when it comes to Zelda. Hello everyone, it is Samantha and I hope you guys are having a great day. I am excited about today's video because I get to talk about one of my favorite things, and that is Zelda. It is my favorite franchise from Nintendo. I love Zelda. I love it so much. I've loved it since I was a kid when I was first exposed to it, and I love it to this day. So I am very excited about today's video because I get to share that love with you guys, and maybe we can all just gush about how awesome this franchise is now in the comments, because I would love that. So my obsession with Zelda actually started when I was about 4 or 5 years old, long ago. We had gotten the Super Nintendo when I was about 4 years old, I think, and we had gotten 2 games for it. I believe they were the first 2 games we actually ever got for the console, and that would have been Super Mario World and Zelda: A Link to the Past. So this was my first foray into both Mario and Zelda, and basically the rest is history. I've been a Nintendo fangirl since then. I mean, hardcore. Like, we've had all of the consoles, I've had the handhelds. I still have my Game Boy. It's like the clear Game Boy. It's up in my closet. We got the subscription to Nintendo Power, so basically we're a very big Nintendo-heavy household. I love Nintendo. And so Zelda, of course, was going to be one of my best loves. I love this game so much. A Link to the Past was my very first Zelda game for the Super Nintendo, and it has remained one of my favorite games. So A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo was my very first Zelda game. I have played the original Nintendo games. We never had the original Nintendo console, but I played them on the disc that came out with the GameCube that had all of the Zelda games on it, from the inception of Zelda all the way through the Nintendo 64 ones. So I had all of them from the very first Zelda game through Majora's Mask, and I played them then. And I appreciate them for how they started the franchise and just what they meant in terms of RPGs and all of their 8-bit glory, but in general, I will always love A Link to the Past because it's my first Zelda game. It's my first foray into this world of Zelda. But A Link to the Past will always be my favorite Zelda game because it was my very first Zelda game. So I appreciate the Nintendo ones because of what they mean, but I am not the biggest fan of the gameplay. I also haven't played a lot of original Nintendo games because I basically just play Super Nintendo on, so there is that as well. But I love A Link to the Past, but it's not my favorite Zelda game. It'll always be one of my favorites because of the nostalgia factor and the fact that it was my first. But my 2 favorite Zelda games are tied, and that would be Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64 and Twilight Princess for the Wii. Originally the Wii. They just released it for the Wii U, and it's been great replaying it. But I love both of these games primarily because I felt like they had 2 of the best storylines of all of the Zelda games in this franchise, and both of them added some very innovative new things to this franchise. Of course, Ocarina of Time was probably the biggest Zelda game up to that point. It was the biggest Zelda game up to that point. Plus, it was the first to have the 3D graphics, and it added a bunch of other little things like being able to ride a horse, and it was pretty epic. Being able to see Zelda in all of its glory, like, it was just so beautiful at the time. And then it also had a really great storyline. I mean, you start out as Link as a kid, and then you end up as Link as an adult, and it was just a really wonderful game to play. And then Twilight Princess, same thing. It was with the Wii. It adds some new innovative features, such as the way you're able to fight with your sword and the remote, because the Wii remote has a motion sensor and stuff. Though, to be honest, I actually prefer just the old style game. Like, we have the Wii U Pro remote, which I actually prefer for playing my video games, but whatever, that's for another video. But it was still pretty innovative in the way that it allowed you to fight differently and added some new tools and weapons that Link could use. And the story is fantastic. I love the story to Twilight Princess. Being able to transform into a wolf, and you can fight as a wolf and a man, and you have these 2 different realms, and it's just so epic in its scope. And the scenery was just like gorgeous because it was the first one for the Wii, and it was just amazing, and I love it so much for that reason. So Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess are probably my 2 favorite Zelda games, with A Link to the Past coming in at a close third, but that does not mean that I do not love the other Zelda games. I really enjoyed Skyward Sword, which was also for the Wii, not as much as Twilight Princess, and to be honest, I never actually finished it because the second to last villain, right before you defeat the big bad guy, is like impossible to defeat, and I spent like a week trying to get around him. His like swordplay is just like intense, and it's really hard to defeat him. At least I had that problem, and then I ended up getting distracted with other things and never finished it. So I kind of need to like restart it and replay it at some point. So I don't mind Skyward Sword. It's not my favorite, and I like a lot of the Game Boy ones as well. I love A Link Between Worlds, which is a sequel to A Link to the Past, which came out for the 3DS. That one's a really fun game to play, and I actually want to start replaying it. So I got about halfway through, and then I got distracted with reading. That was the thing. So I need to go back and replay it, and I can't wait because it was a really fun game. It's probably my favorite one for the DS systems that have come out so far. And of course, Spirit Tracks for the DS is really fun, and then I also just enjoy all the other little ones that have come out with Minish Cap. It's pretty great. I've only played through part of that one as well. And then of course, Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, which came out for Game Boy Color, was pretty innovative for that time period as well. I mean, there was these two separate Zelda games, which alone was awesome because they came out at like the same time. And then you also had the ability to kind of meld the two. They could overlap. The two storylines overlapped, and it was just pretty awesome. I remember feeling that was like such a cool thing that they did. Plus, you got two basically different Zelda games for, you know, at the same time, instead of having to wait years between games. My least favorite console Zelda game, however, is probably going to be Wind Waker. And I mean, Nintendo really tried to take a different route with Wind Waker. They changed the graphic style completely. And I mean, it's very cute and whimsical, but it's just never been my favorite Zelda game. I mean, it's fun, but I don't know if I'd ever replay it. I had fun the first time through, but it was a little bit too different from what I liked about Zelda. I kind of like the realistic, like, fantasy adventure. I mean, as realistic as you can be with fantasy. Of the other Zelda games. So the more cartoony one, it's okay, it's just not my favorite. And of course, this discussion on the console Zelda games brings me to the news that Nintendo just released its most recent E3 of the brand new Zelda game, which of course is Zelda Breath of the Wild. I am beyond excited about this video game. I'm kind of happy that they're releasing it on both the Wii U and the new system, which is currently still under its codename NX, because, you know, I don't know. I don't know when I may get the NX console or how I'll feel about it when it comes out. It'll, you know, depend upon what the hardware looks like, the specs, and things like that. But so I'm happy that they're releasing it on the Wii U so I can still play this brand new Zelda game without having to get the new console if I don't desire to get it right away. So I'm really excited that they're doing a dual release, and that will be really nice. And just the game itself I'm very excited for. It sounds like it's going to be pretty epic in scope. You're going to have so much more you're going to be able to do. It's going to be a lot more immersive. Like, he's basically going to be able to have full range over everything. He can climb walls now, like cliffs and things, which is going to be awesome. And he can interact with environments, such as like killing his food and then eating it to regain energy, because you have energy you're expending now, health, versus just losing hearts when you get injured. So that'll be pretty intriguing to see how big in scope this world will be. And from what I've heard, from what Shigeru Miyamoto has kind of released, this map is going to be the biggest world map of any Zelda game. It's going to be like a very massive open world. A year ago, if I remember correctly, I remember him saying that in an interview that Skyward Sword, which was the biggest Zelda map up to this point, is only going to be one small corner of this new game. So it's going to be a pretty expansive game. And I'm just excited to see what Nintendo's going to do, what new innovative things they're going to bring to this franchise, and I am just beyond excited. I really hope Nintendo will make it through their rough spots right now. I'm glad they're moving into the mobile market, because I'd be really sad to see Nintendo go. I just love them. I just love Nintendo. And more about the gameplay than the graphics. They've always been behind, especially this past like 10-15 years, in terms of the hardware that they use in their consoles. The graphics have been behind like PlayStation, Xbox, but I like their games and I like their gameplay. That's why I like Nintendo. I'd rather have a decent game with decent storyline, decent gameplay, just everything, than, you know, a really fancy, beautiful, glossy game. I'd just rather be able to enjoy playing it than it looking pretty, if that makes any sense. So I'm excited about this new game. I'm excited to see how it will play. I'm sad that I still have to wait like 6 more months. I think the rumor is that it will be coming out in March. So, but that's also my birthday month. So, you know, that's a good birthday gift. So that's enough of me rambling about the video games. And now I want to share with you guys some of my Zelda collection, because I have acquired several items in the course of my life, and I want to share them with you guys and show you guys some of the Zelda things I have collected. So I think the first one I want to show is probably the most obvious, and that is the t-shirt I'm wearing. I got this at Hot Topic last year. It is a black tee with the Triforce and Hyrule symbol on it. Basically, this is what is on Link's shield. I love this t-shirt because, you know, how can you not love a Zelda t-shirt? I also have a few amiibos in my collection. The first one, of course, is this awesome Link one, which is actually the Link from Skyward Sword, and he just looks all cool and badass and epic in his little pedestal. And then my mom got Zelda right here, which is also from the Skyward Sword Zelda, I believe, and she lets me have it on my bookshelf since I have Link and they can be together. And then the third amiibo I have is the one that was just released with the re-release of Twilight Princess for the Wii U, and of course it is Midna and Link as the wolf, which is just fantastic. And my mom is also letting me keep it on my bookshelf because she's awesome that way. So I have this guy sitting on my bookshelf right now, and it's pretty epic. And you can use these in the new, all of these in the new release of the Twilight Princess for the Wii U, which is pretty cool. Like, Link will replenish all of your arrows, And then Zelda can replenish all of your hearts if you're running low. And then this guy, I haven't gotten to the point where you can use him yet. I believe it has to do with one of the big dungeon tunnel things you can do to get like a piece of heart. So anyway, I love these guys. They're really cool. And plus they just add little cool figurines onto my bookshelf, which is also awesome. I also have 2 Zelda related books that I absolutely love. The first one is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past graphic novel, which was done by Shotaro Ishinomori, the art was, and the story. And I got this a couple of years ago, and it's basically a link to the past, which was my very first Zelda game in graphic novel form, and it was fantastic, and it's so glossy and pretty and shiny. I actually believe this was the comic that appeared in Nintendo Power for a few issues, because Nintendo used to have comics inside of their Nintendo Power magazines. So it's all in one bind up, and it was a pretty fun read. It was very nostalgic for me. And the next book I have that I love, my sister got it for me for my birthday last year, and I love it so much, is The Legend of Zelda: A Hyrule Historia. And this is basically the history of Zelda, all of the games, everything that went into it, the people, the art, everything, for all of the games up to Skyward Sword, and it is fantastic. It is full of so much information. I actually haven't finished reading through it all, but they just talk about all of the different games and all of the different art styles, and it's just really a lot of fun, especially if you're a big Zelda fan like myself. So because I'm a hardcore Zelda fan, I actually dressed up like Link last year for Halloween. I'll insert a picture right here so you guys can see. I was quite proud of this costume. I got the costume on Etsy. I still have it, so I can dress up like Link for many Halloweens to come. But as part of my costume, I got 2 things that I absolutely adore, and I have them hanging on my wall, and it's just like, so I'm going to show you right now. The first of those is my Link shield. This I got on Amazon actually as part of my costume, but now I have it hanging on my wall, and this should look familiar to anyone who's played Zelda games. This is pretty much how Link's shield has looked since Ocarina of Time on. So anyway, yes, I have this guy right here hanging on my wall, and I love having my little Link shield. And then the crown of my collection, my pride and joy, is my replica Skyward Sword sword. And this is like a legitimate sword. It is actual steel. And I was actually amazingly able to find this on Amazon. I used this as part of my costume at my Halloween party at work. My dad actually and I had to blunt the sword because it was sharp, because it's like a sword. But it's pretty epic. I got Skyward Sword right here in my hands, and it's actually pretty heavy, and it's just, I love it. I mean, I already love fantasy, and I like the Middle Ages and things like that, so having a sword is just kind of cool anyway. So, yes, but don't worry, it's blunt because it's been blunted because I'm a klutz, and, you know, with my luck, I trip and impale myself. Not anymore! But yeah, it's just, I love this thing so much, and I have this one sitting next to my bed, and I just think it's so cool. It's definitely the crowning glory, the crown jewel of my Zelda collection. Alright guys, that is it for today's video, all about my obsession with Zelda. I hope it wasn't too rambly. I know I definitely forgot to talk about a few games, but if I just went on talking about all of the games I liked and what things I didn't like about some of them, we would be here all day. But I hope you guys still enjoyed it. You'll have to let me know if you love Zelda, what your favorite game is, because I'm curious to know what your thoughts are about the new game. I would love to hear it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day, and until next time, bye! I hope you guys enjoyed that. I feel like I talked a lot in this video. Hopefully some of it made sense. I feel like I forgot some things, but that's okay. I hope you guys still enjoyed it, because who doesn't love talking about video games? Look, we're sitting in front of the camera because we want to help film. Yeah. You're just a little ham, Brenna.